This is CBC Here and Now.
After lots of mild air, we're going to start to get into some cooler air as we head towards the weekend.
The first COVID-19 vaccines roll out in central Newfoundland. We'll have more details about the distribution plan for rural parts of the province.
Fortunately, that he got to know that actually the money was approved, but unfortunately he died in September.
A new fire truck with a special meaning. West St. Modeste has a new rig and a tribute to a longtime community leader. Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. Those stories just ahead, but first we start with breaking news. We now know the names of 10 correctional officers accused of playing a role in Jonathan Henoch's death. The 33-year-old Indigenous inmate died at Her Majesty's Penitentiary in early November. Reporter Ryan Cook has the latest.
The names of the men and women who allegedly killed or failed to save Jonathan Henoch are now public record. 3 men, Jason Anthony, David Constantine, and Jeff Thistle, are charged with manslaughter. Thistle is also accused of failing to provide the necessities of life. Then 7 more are charged with negligence causing death. They are Chris Cody, Stephen Cumby, Daniel Dalton, Scott Dwyer, Janine Rickert, Riley Ricks, and Lori Williams. Henoch was killed inside the jail on November 6, 2019. Sources say he was in a physical altercation, was moved to the segregation unit, and later died. There's been heavy criticism of the delay in naming the guards. It's now been 18 days since they were arrested and released without needing bail hearings. I was told earlier today by police that it would be several days before the charges were sworn and put on the docket, and then late this afternoon, there they were. Police say that they couldn't swear the charges before because the investigation was still ongoing after the arrests were made. All 10 people are due to appear in court on February 11th. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the COVID-19 vaccination rollout expanded today with inoculations now underway in 2 more health regions. Both Central Health and Western Health have begun administering doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine to frontline healthcare workers. And some good news, this province is getting more doses than expected. Here Now's Peter Cowan joins me now. So Peter, how many more doses are we expecting?
Originally, Carolyn, we were expecting 12,000 doses during the month of January, but in a conference call last night between the premiers and the Prime Minister, there was some good news for this province. So now we are expecting 17,000 doses to arrive in this province, 5,000 more than we expected originally. Now, you need to remember, because you need 2 doses, that's enough to vaccinate 8,500 people, or just over 1.5% of the population. So it's progress, but there is still a long way to go here. Because the Pfizer vaccine in particular has to be carefully handled, there is the potential for doses to be wasted or spoiled. That's considered part of the normal practice, but so far the province says only 0.1% of the doses haven't made it into people's arms. And we are now seeing those first vaccinations outside of St. John's. Central Health announced today the first healthcare workers have now received their doses. Nurse Jessica Rousel was one of the first to get the shot, as well as Victoria Blackmore, a respiratory therapist, was also one of the first in line. So this is actually slightly ahead of schedule. Originally they were going to start next week, and we're now told that it's going to be long-term care residents in Central will be some of the first non-healthcare workers in order to get those doses. But it wasn't just Central, it was the West Coast as well, where the vaccines have started to be administered. Here Now's Colleen Connors has the details from Corner Brook.
Many donned big smiles while they received their needle in Corner Brook today. Public health nurses are distributing the Pfizer vaccine to some healthcare workers, and that happened just earlier at the hospital. Right now, high-risk staff are receiving the vaccine. There is an ultra-low freezer at the vaccine depot, which is within Western Memorial Regional Hospital. Staff who are eligible to receive it are traveling to Corner Brook right now. But there are plans to have vaccine sites established in each primary healthcare area when the health authority gets permission to redistribute the vaccine to other locations. Now, there's no timeline given on that quite yet. To the north now, to the northern peninsula. That area falls under Labrador Grenfell Health. Administration says an ultra-low freezer should be arriving at the Charles C. Curtis Memorial Hospital in St. Anthony in the coming weeks. These types of freezers are necessary to store the vaccine. Once the freezer arrives, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine should get there by February 1st. Health authorities confirmed that the vaccine will be administered in the isolated communities along the northern peninsula, especially to the most vulnerable people.
And we are also quite excited that we will be able to distribute vaccine within regions close by St. Anthony so that we can meet people where they're at if they fall within the priority groups for the first quarter of 2021, which are priority healthcare workers, long-term care and personal care home residents and staff, and the elderly over 80.
Labrador Grenfell Health has been planning this rollout for weeks, especially over the Christmas break, and they say there is adequate staff in place to make this happen. Labrador City is also getting an ultra-low freezer soon, and vaccines will start to be administered in Happy Valley Goose Bay starting on Monday. Health authorities say that vaccine supply is extremely low. And given the difficulty with logistics and trying to get these freezers and vaccines to smaller locations, Pickett hopes that the public remembers that this process will not happen over a couple of weeks, but more like the months ahead and beyond. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, if you're wondering what happened to the first vaccine administered in the province, you'll soon be able to see the vial in person. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald donated the vial to the rooms. The museum says it'll be included in an upcoming display this winter, which looks at the province's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's been a wet couple of days, certainly for southeastern portions of Labrador. Take a look at these numbers. 53 millimeters of rain for Paradise River. Port Hope Simpson similar at 38 millimeters. And then we've got a number of areas seeing anywhere from or close to 30 millimeters of rain, but that has fallen as snow in other areas. Mud Lake 53 centimeters. Happy Valley Goose Bay since Wednesday has reported 50 centimeters of snow, and Makovic still around 45 centimeters of snow. You're still going to see a little bit more as we head through the night tonight. Hopedale, you're seeing lots of blowing snow. Your blowing snow advisory will continue, and it's all thanks to this area of low pressure, which will stick around for parts of at least the next 24 hours, but I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, police have charged the parent of an underage ATV driver in Bay Roberts. Earlier this week, an officer saw an ATV on Veterans Memorial Highway and then on several paved roads in Bay Roberts. The driver reportedly stayed on the road despite ample opportunity to exit and use appropriate trailways. When stopped, RCMP learned the driver was 15. The legal age to operate a full-sized ATV is 16. The bike was seized, and the boy's parent will be charged with permitting underage operation of an ATV. Well, the battle lines are now clear when it comes to the work of this province's Economic Recovery Task Force. Labor groups, fearing their members will be targeted, are walking away. Business leaders, many of whom have been begging for action, are all in. Terry Roberts reports.
NAPE leader Jerry Earle described his sit-down with Task Force Chair Moya Green as the worst meeting he's had in his 5 years as a union president. Federation of Labor President Mary Shortle up and quit the task force, saying it lacked transparency and that all voices were not being heard. But as you'll hear, business leaders are singing from a very different hymn book.
This committee's work is very, very important. It's going to give us a bright future.
We were encouraged by what we heard. We were encouraged by how the conversation went.
It's been a tough week for the task force. Accusations of over-the-top secrecy.
Private one-on-one meetings with non-disclosure agreements, that's not a valid process of public consultations.
There was a lack of
and Labor's representative abandoning the process. But this business leader says the work of the task force is critical to the province's future and that tough, bold decisions are needed.
To have a conversation to, come up with solutions and recommendations for the financial future of Newfoundland and Labrador is paramount right now.
Without action, this lobbyist says the decisions could soon be made by mainland bankers.
It's an untenable situation. The future is not bright unless we deal with it ourselves.
Alexander says it's time to modernize and right-size government services. And while he does not foresee mass layoffs, he expects many people will be affected. The alternative is falling off what he and others are calling a fiscal cliff.
We've got to get our father, the Ottawa, to co-sign loans for us.
Alexander says calls to delay what many believe will be a winter election until after the report is released is nothing more than political posturing.
I think this is beyond politics now. This province is facing a crisis.
All Newfoundlanders and Labradorians need to see this report as soon as possible.
The Premier has said there are no plans for mass layoffs, that there is no hidden boogeyman in the process. Everyone seems to agree that the current fiscal situation cannot continue. Finding unity on how to solve the predicament, however, is another story. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, you might want to check your calendar before putting out your trash in St. John's. As of February 1st, the city is changing some of the collection routes and pickup dates. The change will affect about 15,000 St. John's residents, meaning collection and recycling days could be different than they are now. The city says the schedule shift is to provide the most efficient use of waste removal resources. It will also include some newer residential areas. More information can be found on the Kerbit St. John's website. The Salvation Army in this province is calling it an incredible outpouring of generosity. Its annual Christmas Kettle campaign has raised nearly double the amount the charity was hoping for during the holidays. The goal of this year's fundraiser was $700,000, but the Salvation Army says the final tally is $1.1 million. It says there's an increasing demand for the charity's programs and services, especially during changing and challenging times, and the money raised will go to people who need it most. New fire trucks are always cause for celebration in rural Newfoundland and Labrador, but one truck heading to the town of West St. Modeste is extra special. It's already been named Bob's Truck in memory of Robert O'Brien. As Here and Now's Garrett Berry reports, it's a fitting tribute to a man who did it all.
It's a 1987 Chevy that could use an upgrade.
It was good when we had it and when we needed it for, but it's starting to outlive its purpose, right?
Times are changing. Since the paved road came through, this fire department is much busier.
If you get called out in the middle of the night for a fire, some seniors, any community or a car accident or whatever the case may be, you need to know that you got something that you're safe to go in, right?
Robert O'Brien recognized that, so he decided to make it happen.
He fought for years for this fire truck, and fortunately, that he got to know that actually the money was approved, but unfortunately he died in September.
Add that to the list. Just one more thing that Bob had his hands in.
There's very few homes in this community and neighboring communities that don't have a piece of craftsmanship in their house that was either fixed by Bob or put there and built by Bob.
In homes, in community centers, and churches, a piece of Bob remains.
Bob's presence will always be here because there's so much of Bob here. And to quote his wife, she said he was a jack of all trades and a master of all. And that's so true.
He built the town's boardwalk and served for years on the council.
Bob might make 5 phone calls a week if he had to. And that's the kind type of person he was. It was no good to say no to Bob. Bob was going to keep moving on things.
The mayor had him picked to be her successor.
It has to be volunteers, and it has to be dedicated people and the right kind of people to do it. And Bob was the kind of guy that would have taken that on.
He was born in Blanc-Sablon, but met a woman here. The rest was history.
So many things Bob was. He was a fisherman, an avid moose hunter, amazing berry picker, plant potatoes. All of these traits he shared with his children and grandchildren.
But he was just a dog to work. He just didn't know how to stop, right? Right from the garden to the woods to He cut 35 pickup loads of wood this winter.
Bob died in September, and the tributes came pouring in. There's one big one still on the way.
He was told before he died, and he also was told that the truck will be named after him. I think that meant a lot to him. Or hope it did, anyway.
We're beaming with pride, and I know Mom is proud, very, very proud.
Garrett Berry, CBC News, West St. Modest.
Well, nice evening out there after a pretty lovely day today actually here in the east. Temperatures are going to drop as we head towards the weekend, but I'll have that full forecast coming up.
Well, it's Friday, the weekend is here, and it was a great start to the weekend. What a beautiful day today in St. John's.
Especially after yesterday being
so gray
and foggy.
Yeah.
This morning it was actually kind of nice to
It
see
was.
some of the blue
sun came out for a bit.
Yeah, blue sky peeking through. Temperatures now are a little bit cooler than where we sat earlier this afternoon. We were in the mid-single digits, but now 2 degrees in St. John's, 3 in Gander, and a little bit cooler along the north coast. There, or northeast coast rather, Twillingate sitting at 0 degrees and 2 in Corner Brook, and then much cooler temperatures again in Labrador, -1 is the afternoon, or rather the evening temperature right now. Taking a look at the satellite radar, you can see that rotation of that area of low pressure. Plenty of showers happening along the west coast, and we did see that break in the east, but that risk of showers will continue as we head through the overnight. Then you can see that onshore cloud cover there. That's lots of snow, again, up through portions of Labrador, as you saw a little bit earlier. 50+ centimeters has fallen in some areas. Mainly from Makkovik through to Happy Valley Goose Bay since Wednesday. So that snow is going to continue as we head through the overnight tonight, eventually taper off as we head into Saturday, but the shower activity will continue for the island, and then the rain as well, or at least showers for southeastern portions of Labrador. Still in that higher elevation, you could see the risk of some freezing rain. And overall, the island should stay wet tonight. We may see some flurries in the mix, but a better chance of that flurry activity will move in as we head through the day tomorrow. So temperatures tonight should sit above zero or just above 0, 1 to 2 degrees. The winds will ease in the west, but they're going to stay brisk in the east. Southwesterlies gusting anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Another double-digit night, minus double-digit night for Lab City, and then hovering near or just below 0 for southeastern portions of Labrador. But again, with those gusty winds continuing 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. So taking a look at the future tracker for tomorrow, that low pressure system's moved offshore, but we're still going to see the effects of that with the potential for some showers and or some rain, snow mixing in into the afternoon for the southern portion. Even central eastern areas could see that as well, with flurry activity for the northern peninsula, and then going to see that transition from rain back to the potential for some flurries for the southeast. As that low finally pulls away, things will eventually clear out as we head into early Sunday morning, which is good news. Temperatures tomorrow are going to be a little bit cooler, anywhere from 2 to 4 degrees across the island, but still on the plus side of the mercury. Those winds will stay brisk as well. And then you've got the potential, again, like I said, flurries. Shouldn't see too much more in the way of accumulation for Happy Valley Goose Bay. And then Cartwright, you could pick up about 5 to 10 centimeters by the time tomorrow evening rolls around. Nain should stay nice and clear, -6. And then as we head through the next couple of days, that area of low pressure moves off. Then we've got a ridge of high pressure that moves in, and it's going to dominate the weather for the weekend, for most of the weekend anyway, into Sunday for Labrador. Some chances of some flurries will move through on Sunday across the island. That will move off, and then even into Monday, we could see some lingering flurry activity for parts of the island on Monday, but it does look like the sun will finally come out for most areas, certainly up through Labrador, staying quiet. Maybe a few flurries for the west, but overall the major systems have moved off. Taking a look at the forecast temperature-wise on Sunday, there's that drop I was talking about, hovering near or just above 0. Again, that risk of some flurries, maybe even a few showers for St. John's, and then sunshine, or at least partly to mostly cloudy skies for most of Labrador, but back down into the minus single digits. Happy Valley Goose Bay down to -8 for Sunday. Into Monday, even cooler, back down to the minus teens at this point, and then well below 0, or at least a few degrees below 0, well below where we've been sitting for the past couple of days for the island. Some sunshine, but also the risk of some flurries. After that, again, going to stay below 0 for the beginning of the week. For next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, looks like we'll see more in the way of sunshine anyway. Chance of a few flurries for Tuesday for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland as we head towards central. Better chance of that sunshine, -2 to -4. Those overnight lows into the minus single digits as well. And then for western Newfoundland, don't have a whole lot of sunshine in there with some onshore flurries. You may see some peaks of sun, but overall you are looking at the potential for flurries right into the beginning, or to the middle of next week rather. And then for eastern Labrador, nothing but sunshine from Sunday through to Wednesday at this point. Temperatures into the minus double digits for Monday and Tuesday, and then back up. But look, your overnight lows dipping into the -20s. And then for Lab West, you're looking at flurry activity and some sunshine as well, with your temperatures into the minus teens. So with 50+ centimeters of snow falling in Happy Valley Goose Bay, a few people are trying to bring some warmth to the area. I had to share this beautiful photo there. Thank you so much. And that's Jenny, the beagle there. Thank you so much to Renee for sharing that with us. And if you have any weather photos to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
This week was a big one for a 19-year-old hockey player from St. John's.
This is clearly a good goal. Newhook giving Canada an early lead.
Alex Newhook captured a lot of attention for his performance on Team Canada, scoring a stealthy goal in the first minute of a game against Russia in the World Junior Championships, his third goal in the series, and then came the big championship game against Team USA.
The United States has taken the lead.
Hopes were high, but in the end, Team Canada finished second in the series. Alex Newhook is back in Boston and joins me now. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First of all, congratulations on playing such a great series.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a great tournament.
I know it wasn't the outcome you were hoping for, but playing on Team Canada and going undefeated throughout most of the tournament must have been such an incredible experience for you.
Getting to wear the maple leaf and represent our country on the national stage, it's it's something I'm going to cherish forever, and especially at the World Juniors during this crazy year. I think it really was a great experience and what's been a pretty unprecedented year, but something I'll be forever grateful for, and to share it with such a great team and a great group of guys, it just added to it.
Were you disappointed that your family couldn't be there ringside as you were playing?
Yeah, it's definitely a disappointment, and for it to be this year where really got a chance to get to the stage and not have friends and family to be there and have the fan support behind us, it definitely was a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, we felt the support of Canadians all across the country, and I think it really helped us to push and be as successful as we were, and even though not come home with the gold.
And you had so much momentum throughout the whole series, being undefeated. What do you think changed in that game against the U.S.?
Yeah, I think we definitely got out of the gate a little slower than we wanted to. That was a really big key for us throughout the whole tournament. I think we got off to a good start in almost all our games, and in a game like that where one goal can really make a difference, I think that's what it was. And it's one hockey game. It's too bad we couldn't have had a crack at him in a series or something like that. But it happens, and when you're trying to win one hockey game, we ran into a good goalie in Nider, and he's phenomenal. So. I think if we had to just maybe found one early on or something, it could have been a bit of a different outcome. But nevertheless, the U.S. played a good game.
You really had some shining moments throughout the series. In particular, you captured a lot of attention during the game with Russia this week when you scored 59 seconds into the game. Tell us about that moment.
It was great, and it was really special for me, and having missed the two games previous to that. Almost the full 2 games. I really just wanted to get back in the lineup and at whatever cost it was for me. So working with the trainers for those 3 or 4 days and doing as much as we could to get me as healthy as possible for those games. And then to actually be able to play and get one early, it was great, and I was happy to be able to spark the team a little bit early on against a good Russian team.
What comes next for you?
It's an exciting year for me, and it all started with World Juniors, but there's a lot to look forward to this year. Back at BC, we have a really strong team. We're ranked number 2 in the country right now, and actually playing this weekend. So. It's good to get right back into it. I haven't played a game with BC yet, so I'm really excited to join my club and being here for so long before and practicing and not getting to play a game was tough. So now I think being back and getting back with the guys is going to be great, and hopefully we can go for a national title this year. I think it's been something we've been focusing on.
Well, Alex Newhook, congratulations once again, and we'll all be watching to see what happens next for you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. WestJet announced today it's cutting jobs and slashing flight capacity by a third. This in the wake of federal government travel advisories and restrictions. The Calgary-based airline says as many as 1,000 employees will be impacted with furloughs, temporary layoffs, unpaid leaves, and reduced hours. Beginning this week, travelers must show a negative COVID test before being allowed entry into the country. WestJet unsuccessfully lobbied government to delay that ruling. So let's take a look at some of the numbers. 175 flight attendants at the main airline will be laid off. 24 more at Swoop, WestJet's discount carrier. Both groups were laid off in April, called back over the summer, and are now laid off for a second time. The airline is also slashing about 30% of its flights in February and March, including cutting its number of international flights from 100 this time last year down to just 5. Well, about 230 weekly departures have been cut, including about 160 domestic routes. Back in October, the airline shut down almost all of its operations in Atlantic Canada. More than a dozen prominent figures have lost their jobs in recent days for vacationing outside the country despite pleas from government and public health to stay home. Now, you'd be forgiven if you're confused by the mixed messages. Airlines and travel companies aren't just pushing flights, they're offering deals to winter-weary Canadians. Here's the CBC's Aaron Saltzman.
As if the lure of sun and sand isn't enough on its own, especially these days. Now, according to the Globe and Mail, Air Canada is hiring Instagram influencers to help sell Canadians on heading south. This as governments plead with people to stay home.
No one should be vacationing abroad right now. You need to take this seriously.
Leader after leader warning against the perils of non-essential travel. At the same time, airlines are doing whatever they can to get passengers back on board, offering discounts, special promotions, even buy now, pay later plans.
To do so at this point in time is completely irresponsible.
And this business professor says completely unnecessary.
Every survey we see lists the need to travel as one of the first or second things people will do once we return to pre-pandemic days.
But the government hasn't banned travel. To do so without a government bailout could jeopardize the entire industry. Meanwhile, airlines are hemorrhaging money. Passenger traffic is down more than 90%. For its part, Air Canada says, we sometimes use influencers on social networks as part of our larger marketing efforts and to reach audiences that traditional media do not penetrate. The airline didn't answer why it's doing this when governments are urging people to stay home.
We are flying off to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for the next 10 days. We are partnering with Air Canada Vacations.
But in a pandemic, some say a campaign like this could backfire.
The airlines definitely risk a consumer backlash when they're promoting behavior that is counter to what Health Canada and other officials are recommending.
Besides, the sun and sand will still be there after the pandemic. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the Prime Minister is again addressing this week's violence in Washington. He started his regular COVID-19 briefing today with optimistic words about the strength of democracy here and in the U.S. and placed blame for Wednesday's attacks squarely on Donald Trump and other Republican politicians.
What we witnessed was an assault on democracy by violent rioters, incited by the current president and other politicians. As shocking, deeply disturbing, and frankly saddening as that event remains, we've also seen this week that democracy is resilient in America, our closest ally and neighbor. Violence has no place in our societies, and extremists will not succeed in overruling the will of the people.
Spoke with Jeffrey Pitcher, Artistic Director of Theatre Newfoundland and Labrador. He told us how the group had done a deep dive on 17 young soldiers from the Northern Peninsula killed in the First World War. Their names commemorated on a memorial in Cowhead. The group poured through old records, interviewed family members. They wanted to make a production that was as personal and true to life as possible. Their project is the focus of a documentary called 17 Men, and tonight we're going to share some of that documentary with you.
I want to tell it from the soldier's point of view, the boy's point of view. I don't want to do a big picture of the war. I don't want to hear what the officers and the historians and all those guys said. I want to write it from these guys who are sitting in the trench, sitting in the mud, drinking crappy rum and tea and eating cold food and having to go out to kill people. You want to hear them tell it their way.
I'm Jeff Pitcher, the Artistic Director of Theatre Newfoundland and Labrador. I was actually a starting member of Theatre Newfoundland and Labrador way back in 1979 when Maximus Umdar started the company. So I started as an actor back in '79, worked with the company for a couple of years as an actor-director, but then went away and did other things, worked with other companies, but came back as the Artistic Director of Theatre Newfoundland and Labrador in 2000. And that's when I took over the Grossmorn Theatre Festival and TNL. The company has come a long way since 1979. The company started off as almost a school touring company doing 1 or 2 shows a year. And through the years it grew, and then one of the things that developed with the company was the Grossmorn Theatre Festival, when the company decided to plunk down our festival here in Cowhead. Our purpose is our culture, our heritage, who we are as a people. I think as a theatre company, that's our responsibility. That's a part of our mandate, to tell our story.
Here, Daniel's Harbour, smack in the middle of 300 miles of sparsely occupied coast. Daniel's Harbour.
Although there really is no harbour at all.
It's snowing like the devil. It's blowing like the gale. It's June. It's Cowhead.
When I came here in 2000, one of the things that I know affected me a lot was the fact that our Beaumont Hamel, our Memorial Day, happens to fall on Canada Day. And to me, there was something at odd there. We were celebrating Canada Day, there are Canadian flags, and so we should. Canada's a great nation, and I'm proud to be a Canadian, and I am a Canadian. But we must remember, and our Memorial Day somehow was being buried in the Canada Day celebrations.
To be posted here for 6 months. I hope I can bear it.
He showed unheard of courage in the war.
And through talking to people in the community and talking to people on our board, we decided that on that day we would actually have a memorial service and a parade here in the community of Cowhead. And that night we would open that play about First World War I. The next thing I know, there was talk in the community about erecting their own cenotaph here in the town because there was no marker to remember those soldiers. And there were 17 of them that are connected to this area of town, or this area of the coast. So the community got together, and Adrian Payne was one of the prime movers.
First, it was just going to be maybe a small stone or something like that. And then we got a couple of meetings going, and I thought, there's a lot of smaller communities that don't have a memorial or a cenotaph. So why don't we go for, maybe we could get some money from the federal government, provincial government, if we went for a regional one. So that's what we did. We went for a regional one, which includes communities from Sally's Cove to Belburns. We should have something to remember our veterans. The younger generation coming up now, if something like this isn't possible for them to see or do or carry on, just a lot of those men will be left with nobody to tell their story.
I decided we needed to somehow honor those soldiers because the first time I started looking at the names, I wondered who they were. And so I decided that what we would do each year is we would take 4 of those soldiers for the 4 years of World War I, from 2014 to 2018, the 100-year anniversary of each year, and take 4 soldiers and tell their story on our stages so that the local people here could actually understand who those boys were. And that's what we did.
On June 27th, they marched to Doullin.
The more we did it, the more soldiers that we took apart and looked at their lives, the more emotionally engaged we became as artists.
I couldn't do this without this program doing it for you.
It's
'cause
amazing.
It tells you.
I find it absolutely amazing.
I started putting the family tree together with looking it up, research, checking records, census records and church records and baptismal records, and it was just one step at a time. And each person that I put in, I would have to document where I had got the information from, which is important.
I was talking to Luke Payne. So
James was his grandfather.
that's right. And that was also James S. Payne was the brother of Naaman Payne.
That's right.
Who they lost, right?
Yes.
And that's James S. Payne.
James S. Payne. James S. Payne was my grandfather, and he was in the Royal Navy. Back then, a lot of people joined up during the war years, you know. It was a little bit of money and with some better clothes. So a lot of people joined up, and of course he was one of them.
He was a fisherman before he left, right?
Yes, he was. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of explosion. He got hot oil in his eyes, and he got so blind, so to speak, they had to release him. And he didn't have a bit of education. He couldn't even sign his name. No. He had to make an X.
Yeah, a lot of them did. A lot of them were like that.
But I'll tell you, my grandfather enlisted at the same time Enos Verge, and I think it was Garland Payne, I'm not sure. But he had a handicapped man.
Who did?
Garland Payne. He was a tall. And he enlisted in the Navy, and he only had a bad hand behind him.
Is that right?
When he was being interviewed, and he got in the Navy.
My interest is in the men and the boys themselves. The bigger picture of the war and what the war was is not overly important to me. That's, I guess, historians deal with that. I deal with feelings. I try to give an emotional context.
When you look out over this now, all these years later, how much has it changed here?
I'd say if my grandfather could come back, he wouldn't know it. I'm Adrian Payne. I grew up here on the head until I was 19, and then I moved away and went to Ontario for a while.
Who lived here?
Harvey Hall, Mrs. Hout, Neil Hall. We used to call Mr. and Mrs. in them time.
Yeah. And Harvey Hall was our man who fought in World War I.
Yes.
Well, Harvey Hall came from England, and he went to Seal Island, Labrador, of course. And there he married an Inuit woman. And they had, one of their daughters' name was Alice, and she married a Collet. And they moved to Cowhead.
But I remember Mr. Hall and going up to Mrs. Collett's and hear him tell us stories, some things about the war that we didn't believe, but found out after that they were true.
Neil Collett told me that he never ever believed the stories that he told, but actually they were all true. But he said they were so unbelievable to him as a young boy.
Hard as nails. Didn't care for the devil. Didn't care. Nothing fazed him. I guess that's the reason why he made a good soldier, because they said he was a good soldier.
Our pay was $1 a day for the duration of the war. Most of us sent home 60 to 70 cents a day so our families could survive in our absence.
Greg Scott, the seventh and final draft of soldiers to leave Newfoundland in 1915. I was born in Belburns, but raised in Port Saunders by my grandparents, Henry and Priscilla House.
Joe Gilly from Bond Bay, buried right in the middle of enemy territory. The only Newfoundlander there, I might add, of over 1,700 Allied soldiers. It's a beautiful spot. There's a rose bush growing right over my headstone. My headstone says, I was a captive. My God delivered me. I was 18 years old.
I remember lying in Yeep in the fields of Passchendaele. You know, I remember sitting one evening in a trench and the stars were out, and thinking those boys were sitting in this same mud looking up at the stars the same stars, and these are the same stars that are shining in Newfoundland. And there was a real connection there. And I'm sure that they, at that time, were probably thinking the same thing as they looked at the stars, that at home, their mothers and their fathers and their brothers and sisters could see the same stars.
Well, that was just a snippet of the documentary 17 Men. The full 40-minute documentary is available to stream online on CBC Gem. Just head to gem.cbc.ca and search for 17 Men. We'll be back with a look at who's celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. Well, time to find out who's celebrating. Happy 52nd anniversary to Otto and Adelaide House of Daniels Harbour. Happy 54th anniversary to Wallace and Mary Jesso of Ship Cove on the Port-au-Port Peninsula. Anniversary greetings going out to Earl and Violet Ellsworth, who are celebrating their 61st anniversary. They live in Carmanville. Happy 60th wedding anniversary to Alexander and Ellen Jackson of Cavendish, Trinity Bay. Congratulations to Frank and Judy Goodyear of Grand Falls-Windsor together on their 50th anniversary. Another golden anniversary for Herb and Joanne Pretty from Grand Falls-Windsor. Happy 55th anniversary to Raymond and Betty Jean Lodge of Deer Lake. Congratulations to Paul and Matilda Collier of St. Albans Bay d'Espere, who are celebrating their 57th anniversary. Congratulations to Leona and Harvey Greening of Musgravetown, celebrating their 66th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Claude and Bernice Oram from Gambo. Happy 56th anniversary to Dave and Marie Barter of Cold Brook. 50th anniversary greetings going out to Adrian and Lexi Antle of Mortier Buren. Wishing Ralph and Elizabeth Lovell of McIvers a happy 59th anniversary. Happy 51st wedding anniversary to Les and Mary Price of Grand Bank. 60th wedding anniversary greetings going out to Clayton and Ethel Humphries of Bonavista Bay, now living in St. John's. Happy 60th wedding anniversary to Pat and Glennis Cody of Mount Pearl. Charles and Maude Kendall are celebrating 56 years of marriage. Congratulations. Anniversary greetings going out to Sylvia and John Potter of Lewisport, now living in Kingsway. Wishing Bernard and Theresa Tobin a happy 58th anniversary. They're from Gaskers, now living in Trepassey. Happy 60th wedding anniversary to Raymond and Jeannette Cooper of Point Leamington. Happy 53rd wedding anniversary to Jean and Mike Devereaux in Gander. 57th anniversary greetings going out to Bert and Flora Sims from Port aux Basques. Happy anniversary to Dennis and Annie Nash of Branch, who are celebrating 58 years of marriage. Happy anniversary to Albert and Alice Keefe of Black Tickle, celebrating 50 years together. Happy 55th anniversary to Victor and Irene Ryan of Happy Valley Goose Bay. Congratulations to Barb and George Ingram on 50 years together. They live in the Codroy Valley. Happy 66th anniversary to Henry and Edna Goddett of Kippens. Now to some birthdays. Happy 90th birthday to Joyce Petton of CBS. Happy 95th birthday to Mabel Lemoyne from Port aux Basques. Eli Bushey of Brown's Arm is celebrating his 90th birthday. Birthday greetings going out to Dorothy Hodder of Port Blandford, who's celebrating her 95th birthday. Happy 95th birthday to Grace Forsey of Grand Bank. 90th birthday wishes to Pearl Roberts of Brigus, now living in CBS. Best wishes to Alfreda Butler, who is celebrating her 90th birthday. She's from Monkstown, Placentia Bay, and now lives in St. John's. Happy 90th birthday to Mabel Curlew of Lewisport. Birthday greetings going out to Alma Bungay of Grand Bank. She turns 90 today. Happy 92nd birthday to Amy Penny from Happy Adventure, now living in Gander. 90th birthday greetings going out to Eileen Han of Port East. And here's a big birthday. Margaret Mercer turned 101 yesterday. She's from Bay Roberts and Gander and now lives in Clark's Beach. Happy birthday. Happy 90th birthday to Mitt Guzny of Deer Lake. Happy 97th birthday to Maude Hibbs Whalen of Bell Island, now living in Spaniards Bay. Happy 91st birthday to Roy Bishop from the Goulds. Happy 90th birthday to Agnes Walsh of St. Brendan's, now living in St. John's. Philomena Broderick of Glenwood is celebrating her 99th birthday in Gander. Wishing Giles Miller of Shoal Harbour a very happy 90th birthday, and happy 90th birthday also to Margaret Penny of Lethbridge, Bonavista Bay, now living in Clarenville.
Well, nice, happy anniversary and happy birthday to everybody. Taking a look at the weather over the next couple of days, we're going to see that area of low pressure that's been in place for the past 3-4 days is slowly going to move offshore, but we're still going to see some lingering showers and or flurry activity, certainly up through portions of Labrador. That will continue as we head through the day tomorrow. Could see some periods of snow mixed in. Shouldn't accumulate too much, but the temperatures are going to start to drop. Certainly as we head into Sunday, we'll see temperatures near or just below zero to start off the day and then climb up to near or just above zero as we head through the day on Sunday. So temperatures not looking too bad. Also maybe the chance of a few flurries on Sunday, but overall not a bad weekend with the high pressure dominating portions of Labrador. So you're looking at sunshine as we head through the day on Sunday.
Yeah, it looks nice and bright in Labrador, but it sounds like it'll be a nice weekend if you want to get out and do something outdoors if you're on the island.
Yeah, absolutely.
Temperature's not too bad. Yep. Well, that's it for us tonight. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.